Whoa, stop. If you start automating before watching this video, you might be losing thousands of dollars and weeks of your time. You might be thinking, that sounds pretty dramatic for a Dutch guy. Well, I've seen it over and over again, I just want to warn you. So your business has a lack of resources, just like any business. Your people are very busy, or maybe you have some money constraints. Well, you think automating could be the right solution for your business. And you're right. So you're starting to work on an automation project, you're spending thousands of dollars on a great developer who can build things for you, the team is enthusiastic, you're showing it to them, they are happy, and 1 week after, nobody uses it. So to prevent that from happening, I'm going to show you the steps that I've used with over 150 clients to build automations that are successful and that the team loves. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to do it too. Let's dive into it. So here are the steps to automate the right thing and to automate it correctly. The first thing you need to do is you need to have a process that you want to automate. Think of something that takes a lot of time or just something that you think is very annoying. What you might think is to start automating it from the get-go, but that's actually a big problem because there's 3 main problems on why I think you shouldn't be doing that. Problem 1, ideas are often better in your head than in practice. If you start building some automations and actually start using them, you'll quickly find that things are not as seamless as they are in your head. So you might want to tweak it. And sometimes you actually need to make major changes because the automation didn't really work well. And that's actually a very intensive, expensive, and time-wasting process because making changes in an automation takes way more time than just going to your colleague Sally and asking her to do step A instead of step B. Another problem is overestimating how much time you're actually going to save with this automation. Often, if you ask someone, how much time do you spend on this per month, they will overestimate. They will say, well, it takes me 10 to 12 hours. Like, okay. But if you ask them, how much time have you spent in the last month on this process? Then they will give an actual answer with actual numbers and the actual amount of hours they've used. And you already see that that's usually quite a lot lower than, the estimating for the future. So that's the first thing you need to do, making sure that the amount of hours that you're going to save is as accurate as possible. The final problem I see is that people are automating on top of a broken system. So let's say you work with a finance tool that is very outdated and you want to automate your invoicing process. So of course it sounds like a great idea to start automating that invoicing process, but you're building it on top of a system that's kind of broken already. And because of that, you're making the company more dependent on that broken and old system. So it's often better to first fix the root cause of all the inefficiencies and only then start automating on top of it. And also a good thing, you'll find that if you move from, old school systems to new systems, that they often are able to automate a lot more and also way faster. So make sure that you don't automate on top of systems that are broken because you'll make the whole company dependent on broken systems in the first place. So you might be thinking, how should I be doing this? How should I approach this process? Well, it's pretty simple. Step 1 is to automate nothing. Do everything manually. This might sound a bit weird coming from a guy that loves automation, but it's actually true. And I'll tell you why. Because if you do it manually, you can adjust it as often as necessary. So you can just walk to your colleagues, ask them to make a change. An hour later, you're like, oh, that's actually stupid. Let's try it again. Do it differently. And you can make changes within minutes or hours. Whereas with automations that are built, it can take days or even weeks to make the changes. So when that's done, when you've made a lot of changes and you actually think you have a good process, now start counting and how much time it actually costs to do this thing manually. As I said with the problems, often people overestimate how much time they actually spend, and when you actually track the time, it's often even lower than what they estimated. So track how much time they've spent. Then look at their hourly rate. So let's say the CEO has to do a certain task and it's a $200 per hour task. Then you might want to calculate the amount of time it takes per month times the hourly rate of that person. Let's say it's a CEO at $200 an hour. It's 4 hours and therefore it costs him $800 a month. Well, that's a good thing. You can think of that. Another thing you need to keep into account is the opportunity costs. Even though, let's say a Monday consultant can sell their hours for $150 per hour, that doesn't mean that their hours are actually worth $150. Because if they would be making, let's say for me, a YouTube video that is watched by a lot of people, then my return on my time invested is way higher than $150 per hour. So also look at the opportunity cost of the time that you're saving, not just the actual costs. So if your employee cost $30 per hour, but they could be making the value of $100 per hour, then think of both that value and think of the actual costs. Another thing you need to take into account is who is doing it. If currently is the CEO is doing it, and that CEO is now charging $500 an hour, or it's worth $500 an hour, but it can be done by, let's say an intern for $15 per hour, then it's often smart to just switch the person that does it from the CEO to the intern and making, the process around that person. So that's also a way to make it better. Finally, you have to look into the cost of human error. Let's say a process only takes 30 minutes a month, which sounds like, oh, it's such a small thing, we shouldn't automate it. But if that thing is essential to the business, and if a human error is very expensive, then it might actually be worth automating it, even though it doesn't save a lot of time. Because if that 30 minutes, let's say that person didn't have a good night's sleep and didn't have their coffee, and therefore they make a few problems and mistakes, if that's costing you thousands of dollars, then it's already quite easily worth to automate it. So think of all those things and think, first of all, how much is this automation worth to you? Either in opportunity costs, in actual costs, or in potential human error costs. That's when you know how much it will be worth to your company. After that, you go to an expert like myself to ask for a quote. You explain the whole process, you're going to show what it's like, and then I can easily tell you within 30 minutes or so how much it would cost to build this whole thing and to automate it. After that, you have the cost on one hand, you have the value on the other hand, and you can just calculate the return on investment for this automation. Also keep in mind that automations can break every now and then. So either make sure that you have some sort of support package, or you have someone in your team that knows how to build it, or make sure that you have a good relationship with your developer so he or she can just fix things as soon as possible. Especially if it's mission critical related automations, they need to be on top of it and they need to fix it as soon as possible. So now that you know all those things, you know the return on investment, you know how much time it's going to take to build, you know what it's worth, you know how much time it's going to save, you know everything. That's only when you actually start this whole automation process, because the process works manually, so it will work automatically. There's no things that, we'll run into. Well, maybe it can be sometimes that there's some problems with automating that you don't see manually, but still it's way less likely than on your first attempt. And therefore it's way more likely that your project is going to succeed. And this is actually how to build a successful automation project, even though everything starts from a manual approach. Thanks for watching this video. If you thought it was helpful, please leave a like. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I'll answer all of them to help you as much as possible. If you'd like to get help with one of your automation projects, you can always reach out to me. My information is in the description below. And if you'd like to receive free weekly money.com tips like the one that you've seen today, you can always subscribe to my free newsletter. The link is also in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.